Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into just one source, actually, a fascinating PDF. It lays out this surprisingly simple rule about conversation and listening. The rule is assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't.
Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But as this text unpacks it, you see it's not just about being polite. It gets into psychology, philosophy, even how memory works.
The nature of truth itself, it seems.
Exactly. So our mission here is to pull out the key insights. Why is genuine listening so important according to this source? And maybe more practically, how do we actually do it?
Right, because it's presented here as fundamental, not just for understanding others, but for understanding yourself, and really for navigating the world. Okay, let's get into it.
So the source kicks off by drawing a sharp contrast between genuine conversation and just giving advice.
Okay, what's the difference then?
Well, genuine conversation is framed as exploration, articulating thoughts, strategizing together. Advice, though, the source is a bit cynical here.
Yep.
It suggests advice often comes from a place of wanting the other person to just, stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe feeling intellectually superior. Like, if you weren't so stupid, you wouldn't have these problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite harsh.
Wow, okay. That makes sense, though, when it talks about psychotherapy, that it's not about giving advice.
Precisely. It's about facilitating that genuine conversation. And a huge part of that is just listening.
The source makes this point. It's amazing what people will tell you if you just listen.
hmm They might even figure out what's wrong themselves and maybe how to fix it just by talking it through with someone who's actually listening.
And apparently it can help the listener, too. Help you fix things in yourself.
That's what it suggests.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this really memorable, kind of wild example.
Oh, yeah.
The author describes listening to someone, and minutes in, she reveals she's a witch, and her coven visualizes world peace.
Seriously? A witch?
Yep. The author says they had no idea what to make of it, but, quote, it was not boring.
I bet not.
But the point is, genuine listening opens you up to, unexpected realities, things outside your own frame.
Okay, but the source doesn't paint it as easy, right? Listening.
Not at all. It's very realistic.
Yeah.
It talks about people the author saw in clinical practice who were truly alone.
Surrounded by difficult people, tyrants, narcissists, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Or just overwhelmed by terrible circumstances, sick family members, things like that.
And some people are just hard to listen to.
Yeah. Maybe they're really vague or they jump around, go off on tangents,
Yeah.
or repeat themselves constantly. It can be exhausting.
This seems to lead into a big example in the text.
It does. A really central, complex case study. A client called Miss S.
Right. This one sounded challenging.
Extremely. She comes in and says, I think I was raped,
Okay.
but then adds 5 times,
Whoa.
which is deeply confusing.
5 times. Wow.
And she's described as incredibly vague, almost a ghost of a person.
Despite having these professional roles,
Yeah.
government boards, radio shows.
Yeah, roles she apparently wasn't really qualified for, while also getting welfare. And the text mentions possible alcohol issues too, making it even harder to grasp.
And the key thing was her isolation. No support system at all.
Totally isolated. Neglectful parents, mean brothers, no friends, no partner, no one to talk things through with.
And she didn't know how to think for herself, the source says.
That's the crux of it, illustrated by that detail about her CV.
Oh, the 50-page CV.
In a box.
Yeah. Including sections like My Dreams and Books I Have Read. The author makes the point you can't really imagine how little self someone has to even conceive of that.
It's heartbreaking almost.
And the author uses this analogy for people like her, like a supersaturated sugar solution.
The chemistry experiment.
Right, where you drop in one tiny seed crystal and boom, the whole thing crystallizes dramatically.
So people like Miss S who are really confused, unintegrated.
Yeah, feeling like they've come apart at the seams or never been together at all.
Any orderly system can act like that seed crystal. Exactly. Any reasonably coherent framework, Freudian, Jungian, whatever, can help organize their psyche. Just bringing the pieces together in a disciplined way helps them make sense, become coherent. It can genuinely improve their lives.
And in this case, Miss S, it ties into the whole debate about memory, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So-
Especially recovered memories. That was a huge topic back then.
Were they real memories of trauma, or were they maybe constructed, influenced by therapists, perhaps?
That was the debate. And Miss S's own uncertainty about her experiences, that I think I was raped, really highlights how easily a false memory could potentially be implanted.
Because the past isn't fixed, psychologically speaking.
Not according to this source. It's not like a recording. It's malleable. It can be drastically revised.
Like the movie ending example. A happy ending changes the meaning of everything before it.
Right. Or a bad, unresolved ending ruins an otherwise great film. Our interpretation of the past changes its meaning for us now.
So memory isn't about objective recording.
It's a tool. That's the key idea. It's the past guiding the future.
Its purpose is to help you avoid repeating mistakes. Avoid bad things.
Pretty much, which means it's inherently subjective, selective. It serves your current needs, your vested interests, as the source puts it. What gets included, what gets left out, it's kind of arbitrary.
So with someone like Miss S, whose past is so fragmented,
The author describes having all these conflicting thoughts at once. Seeing her as vague, lonely, afraid, yes, a walking accident waiting to happen.
but also acknowledging other possibilities.
Yeah. Parts of her that might have, on some level, wanted attention or felt guilt, shame, maybe even excitement or the desire for revenge. There wasn't one simple truth, just partial accounts.
Which makes her vulnerable to ready-made interpretations.
Exactly. And this is where ideologies can rush in.
Okay, how does the source frame that?
It posits that someone looking through a purely left-wing social justice lens might immediately see her story as proof. Proof of violent acts against an innocent victim. Rape confirmed, oppression validated.
Right, seeing her only as a victim.
While conversely, someone with the strictly conservative viewpoint might see her life circumstances, her vagueness, and think, walking disaster.
A pale criminal wandering into danger.
That's the phrase used. Someone needing to wake up, take responsibility, maybe someone who dared to break the sacred law but shrank from paying the price.
And the source is clear, telling her either story.
Would have felt true from that ideological standpoint. And crucially, the text suggests she likely would have accepted it.
It would rewrite her past and future.
But it wouldn't be her story in all its complexity. It would be advice serving an ideology, not genuine help tailored to her.
But the author didn't do that.
No, they explicitly chose not to impose either frame. They chose to listen instead.
Not wanting to steal her problem or be the heroic rescuer.
Right, because her situation, that question, was I raped, was incredibly complex. Like a hydra, the source says, cut off one head, others appear. Listening was the only way to respect that complexity.
Which really brings us back to why listening is so central in this source. Why do people need to talk?
Because fundamentally, that's how we think.
Thinking is simulating the world, running mental models.
Yeah. Planning actions, figuring out consequences, and maybe most importantly, figuring out what not to do to avoid trouble. We run these little avatars of ourselves through scenarios.
But it's not just a solo activity. Effective thinking.
Not really, no. The source describes true thinking as difficult. It requires you to be at least two people at the same time.
Two people, how does that work?
Like having an internal dialogue. Two different viewpoints, maybe two avatars in your mental simulation who are allowed to actually disagree.
So internal conflict, negotiation.
Yes. You have to adjust your thoughts, your perceptions. You can't just argue against a weak version of the opposing view in your head, a straw man. You have to give the other side its due, or you're just rationalizing.
And if you're not great at doing that internally, or the problem's too big,
Then you talk it out. But you need someone to listen.
and that listener isn't passive.
No, they're playing a dual role. Collaborator, helping you articulate. But also opponent, in a sense. They represent common humanity, the crowd.
Meaning,
Meaning, if what you say makes the listener genuinely react negatively, if it seems off or violates norms,
that's important feedback.
crucial feedback, it signals you should probably reconsider your own thoughts.
The source has a strong take on radical ideas here, doesn't it?
It does. It acknowledges radical ideas can be right and necessary sometimes, but it cautions that new and radical ideas are almost always wrong.
Almost always wrong. That's provocative.
It is. Culture is compared to a mighty oak, strong because it embodies accumulated wisdom. Straying too far from it without very, very good reasons, carefully considered.
You're likely to fall hard.
That's the implication. And there's this added thought. If you're reading this book, you're likely privileged, benefiting from generations of stability. That demands some gratitude and strong justification if you insist on radically changing things. The safe default is often what others do, unless you have a deeply tested reason not to.
So how does this listening person work in practice? The source talks about different therapeutic approaches.
Right. It mentions Freud, the couch, the free association, the analyst out of sight.
To avoid influencing the patient.
Yeah, to minimize the analyst's biases or projections interfering, keep them detached. Freud insisted analysts get analyzed themselves, too, to deal with their own blind spots.
The source acknowledges Freud's genius.
Oh, yeah. With that dry comment, you can tell that because people still hate him.
Huh. Right. But it also sees downsides to that detached model.
It does. Suggests many clients actually need a closer, more engaged relationship.
So the author's practice, like most clinicians today, is face-to-face.
Yes, allowing for eye contact, reading each other's expressions. The author describes being open about their own internal reactions, aiming for the client's best, but also being alert to misunderstandings that need hashing out right there in the conversation.
There's that great example of the client saying, "I hate my wife."
Yes, just saying it makes it real, brings it out of the underworld, as the source puts it.
And the client sees the therapist's reaction.
Maybe just a subtle shift, a raised eyebrow. And that reaction, combined with hearing himself say the words, starts a process.
He starts connecting it to his mother
Yeah,
and his father.
exactly. Realizing he's confusing his wife with his mother, acting like his father, it helps him become more differentiated.
Meaning more of his own person, less tangled up.
Right. Less like an uncarved block, as the text says, more defined.
And the therapist's crucial intervention in that moment.
Simply nodding, which leads to that great line about being pretty smart if you can just shut up.
So the core of this kind of helpful conversation is two people telling the truth.
Or at least their honest perspective.
Yeah.
And both listening. The therapist's honest opinion, even if it's not the truth, is valuable because, well, it's at least the honest opinion of one person, and that's not easy to get.
Now, Carl Rogers comes up as really key for understanding listening.
Absolutely. Rogers
Okay.
had this insight. Most people can't really listen
What?
because they feel compelled to evaluate. They judge immediately. And genuine listening, he said, it's too dangerous.
Dangerous what?
Because it might change you. Truly understanding someone else's perspective risks altering your own. It takes courage. Rogers noted, if you think you're a good listener but don't see results, people opening up, conflicts easing your listening probably isn't the real deal.
And he proposed that experiment in arguments.
Yeah, the rule. Each person can speak up for himself only after he has first restated the ideas and feelings of the previous speaker accurately, and to that speaker's satisfaction.
And the author finds this really useful.
Very useful in practice and life. Routinely summarizing. So if I understand you correctly, and then checking. Sometimes you're wrong, get corrected. Sometimes a small tweak. Sometimes spot on. All useful.
But it's hard to do.
Surprisingly difficult. It forces you to actually pay attention, to step outside your own head.
And the first big advantage is just genuine understanding.
Right. You have to enter their private world enough to summarize it. And yeah, that risks changing you, which scares people.
What's the second advantage? Something about memory.
Yes. It helps the speaker consolidate their own experience. When someone listens and accurately summarizes your messy emotional story.
It distills it, makes it less overwhelming.
Exactly. It becomes shorter, clearer, the gist of it. The source calls this a successful memory.
Successful because?
Because it clarifies cause and effect. Makes it less likely you'll repeat the same tragedy. It fixed that idea of memory being for the future, not just the past. Better preparation.
And the third advantage, something about arguments.
It makes straw man arguments almost impossible.
Misrepresenting the other side to attack it easily.
Right. But if you have to restate their position accurately to their satisfaction, well, you might even state it better than they did.
Which forces you to grapple with their strongest points.
Precisely. You either find value in what they're saying, you learn something, or you sharpen your own argument against their actual well-stated position. Makes your own view stronger, more resilient to doubt. You give the devil his due, as the author says.
So this Rogerian listening fosters transformation, but the source contrasts it with other types of talk.
Oh yeah, several others, driven by different motives.
Like the dominance hierarchy, jockeying.
People trying to one-up each other's stories, trying to seem more impressive, often involves slight exaggeration, maybe feeling a bit embarrassed afterwards.
Then there's the kind where no one's really listening.
Yeah, just waiting to jump in. The conversation wanders, loses focus, and eventually just stops, a shuddering halt. No real connection.
And the ideological conversation, the victory for a point of view.
That's a big one. The goal isn't understanding, it's winning. Denigrating the other side, using selective evidence, impressing bystanders to gain support for an oversimplified worldview.
This kind of talk actually promotes not thinking.
That's the argument. It just reinforces fixed positions, common in politics, economics, especially at the extremes. You defend your priors, you don't learn or adapt.
Whereas genuine listening conversations often involve someone talking through something difficult.
Maybe something unhappy, tragic. And others listen with sympathy. The speaker is organizing their mind by talking.
And the community's input is needed, like outsourcing sanity.
It's a powerful idea. Social feedback helps us gauge ourselves. Are my thoughts, my behaviors acceptable, healthy? We're constantly getting subtle rewards and punishments from others' reactions.
The source also touches on that common miscommunication, men trying to fix things too fast.
Right. Suggesting that women often are focused first on fully formulating the problem, which needs listening, questioning, clarity before solutions are helpful. Jumping to fix might just be impatience, avoiding the hard work of understanding.
Even lecturing is seen as a conversation.
In a way, the audience gives nonverbal feedback. A good lecturer isn't just dumping facts. They're telling stories about the facts, why they matter, how they can change your behavior, help you navigate the world better.
And the speaker connects with individuals in the audience, not just a faceless crowd.
That's the observation. Talking with specific people, reading their expressions, adjusting, then connecting with another. Inferring the group's mood from these individual interactions.
And finally, conversations of wit. The funny, competitive kind.
Yeah, often with that dominance element trying to be the most entertaining, the rule being anything that was either true or funny.
There's that intense Navy SEAL anecdote.
Right. The terrifyingly witty joke about non-refundable tickets during a medical crisis, which the couple took as a sign of loyalty, a compliment within their tough culture.
The author misses that kind of competitive humor.
Seems so. Acknowledges it was high stakes, you had to keep up or risk humiliation. But also rewarding, a kind of tribal bond, another demanding form of communication.
Okay, so all these forms lead up to what the source calls the highest form.
Yes, the conversation of mutual exploration. This is presented as the peak, the highest form of thought and best preparation for proper living.
What makes it different?
True reciprocity. People genuinely interested on a complex problem, trying to figure it out together, not defend positions. And critically, assuming they have something vital to learn from each other.
It's called active philosophy.
Yeah. Meaning you're not just talking about ideas, you're living them, testing them. It requires existential involvement.
And you have to prefer the unknown. Temporarily.
Exactly. Because your current knowledge must be insufficient. How do we know? Because your life isn't perfect. You still suffer, make mistakes, face deception, malevolence. So by definition, you're ignorant. You need new information.
So to have this conversation, you need humility. Accept your ignorance.
Deeply. And respect the other person's experience. Assume their conclusions are thoughtful. You have to meditate on what they say, not strategize to win.
If you just repeat what you already think.
You're hiding. You're avoiding the truth, avoiding growth.
In mutual exploration, you listen to them, but also yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
You pay attention to how their words are changing you. What new thoughts arise? How do they challenge your assumptions? What new questions emerge?
And you share that internal process.
You articulate it. Hearing you say that makes me think. By doing that, you both move somewhere new, somewhere newer and broader and better. You shed old skins, emerge renewed.
This kind of conversation feels meaningful because
it feels like the desire for truth itself is active. Speaking and listening through both of you, it puts you in that vital space, one foot in order, one in chaos.
letting new information improve your structure, expand your understanding.
Right. The source compares it to great music. It's where souls connect, a genuine space where masks drop, and you recognize fellow searchers for truth.
So wisdom isn't just having knowledge.
It's the continual search for it, that humility. Like Socrates' wisest, he knew nothing, really, always learning.
Wow. Okay, we've really dug deep into this single source today, exploring listening from all these angles: psychological, therapeutic, personal integration, intellectual exchange.
Yeah, we've seen it's not passive at all. It takes courage because, yeah, it might actually change you. We looked at practical tools like that Rogerian summary.
And contrasted all those different conversation types, the ones driven by ego or ideology.
Versus the ones aiming for real understanding, mutual exploration.
So ultimately, this text frames genuine listening, especially that mutual exploration kind, as a pathway.
A path to deeper truth. Yeah. To personal change. And to real human connection.
So the question for you listening is probably, What about your own conversations?
Right. Are you really listening to understand?
Yeah.
Or more just waiting to make your point?
Are you defending territory? Or are you actually searching for truth, even if it's uncomfortable?
And maybe most fundamentally, are you starting from that assumption that you already know? Or are you open, humble enough to assume the person you're listening to right now, they just might know something you don't?
It's a powerful reminder from this deep dive. True wisdom might not be in the certainty we hold, but in that ongoing, sometimes difficult search for what we can learn from others.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.